Croatia's decision to sign a landmark contract for 44 Leopard 2A8 main battle tanks is more than a headline about procurement. It is a decisive geopolitical signal, a declaration that Zagreb intends to anchor itself firmly among the frontline armored powers of NATO. But what exactly does this shift represent for Croatia, for Germany, and for Europe's rapidly evolving security architecture? And why does one tank purchase, albeit a costly one, carry implications far beyond the Balkan region? The ceremony in Berlin, attended by Croatian Prime Minister Andrej Plenković and German Chancellor Friedrich Merz, was not merely diplomatic theater. It was the culmination of a long-running strategic realignment that began when Russia's full-scale assault on Ukraine shattered Europe's assumptions about peace and deterrence. As Deputy Prime Minister and Defense Minister Ivan Anusik signed the order confirmation, he framed the acquisition as a generational leap. And he is right. Croatia is not simply upgrading from old hardware, it is abandoning an entire era of Soviet-derived systems. The aging M84, a Yugoslav twist on the T-72, represented a legacy Croatia could no longer afford to carry into the 2030s. In its place comes the Leopard 2A8, the most advanced main battle tank Europe has ever fielded. At first glance, three helicopters may not seem transformative, but this acquisition is less about quantity and more about capability. The Netherlands isn't simply adding to its fleet. It is doubling down on a platform that has evolved into one of NATO's most sophisticated maritime helicopters. These new NH-90 NFHs will arrive not as incremental upgrades, but as fully modernized Block 1 machines incorporating the latest software release 3 suite, SWR3, a package that fundamentally elevates their operational reach and lethality. The timing matters. Germany has just completed its first newly built MBT for domestic forces since 1992, a symbolic and industrial milestone that marks the rebirth of its armored manufacturing capacity. That alone signals a strategic pivot. Europe's heavyweight economy is not only rearming but reorganizing its defense industry for sustained high volume output. For Croatia to enter this production pipeline now is to align itself with the very center of Europe's renewed military industrial momentum, and that alignment is reinforced by the financing model. Much of the EUR 1.5 billion package will be covered through the EU's SAFE instrument, effectively turning Croatia's modernization into a collective European investment in regional stability and NATO readiness. But let's consider the core question. Why the Leopard 2A8? Why does this platform matter so much in the broader European context? The answer lies in its blend of survivability, lethality, and systems integration. Equipped with the Trophy Active Protection System, enhanced armor modules, and a fully digitalized architecture, the 2A8 is engineered for high-intensity conflict, precisely the type of warfare reshaping NATO's planning assumptions since 2022. Its L-55 120 smoothbore gun remains unmatched in reliability and first-shot lethality. The battlefield networking suite brings it firmly into the era of joint, sensor-rich combined arms operations. For a smaller NATO member like Croatia, the difference between a legacy platform and a top-tier MBT is not marginal. It fundamentally alters the country's military credibility. Yet capability alone does not explain the significance of this deal. The Leopard 2A8 has become the centerpiece of a growing multinational procurement coalition. Norway, the Netherlands, Lithuania, the Czech Republic, and now Croatia are converging on the same platform, binding their armored formations into a shared logistics, training, and operational ecosystem. What does that mean in practice? It means interchangeability on the battlefield, shared spare parts pipelines, joint training centers, and the beginnings of a standardized armored doctrine across Europe's middle tier and eastern forward allies. In other words, this is not simply a tank purchase, it is a ticket into Europe's emerging armored community, a network that aims to ensure that no European state fights alone or with incompatible equipment in the event of a crisis. Croatia's leadership has been explicit about this shift. We are abandoning the remnants of Eastern military technology, Plenković observed, emphasizing that the Leopard acquisition is as much symbolic as technical. That symbolism reflects a deeper transformation. Croatia is moving from a force designed for territorial defense and peacekeeping to one capable of high-end conventional warfare within a NATO framework. General Tiomir Kundid underscored that the mobility, protection, and digitalization of the Leopard 2A8 reshaped the very concept of armored maneuver warfare for Croatia. This is not hyperbole. Croatia's previous armored capability was sufficient for stabilization missions and regional contingencies. The new capability is built for interoperable multinational operations potentially far beyond Croatia's borders. At the same time, this procurement sits within a broader Croatian rearmament campaign. New Caesar MQ howitzers, Tatra tactical trucks, and anti-drone systems are part of the same modernization arc. But the Leopard deal is the anchor point, the single most consequential investment of Croatia's modern military history. Multi-layered financing ensures affordability while reinforcing political alignment. Safe funds cover more than EUR 1.14 billion. Germany's reimbursement for Croatian equipment sent to Ukraine offsets another sizable portion. What emerges is a model of cooperative defense that ties Croatia's modernization to Europe's collective strategic priorities. This interconnectedness raises a critical analytical question. Is Croatia's move a response to immediate regional threats, or is it part of a longer term anticipation of Europe's defense future? The answer is both. The destabilization of the eastern flank has forced every NATO member to reconsider its readiness levels. Croatia, despite its geographic position, recognizes that modern conflict does not respect distance or assumed buffers. A high-end armored force signals that Croatia sees itself as a contributor to NATO deterrence, not merely a beneficiary of it. But at the same time, Croatia is looking ahead to a Europe where integrated defense industries, shared logistics frameworks, and standardized hardware create efficiencies and resilience that no single nation, especially a smaller one, could achieve alone. The doctrinal implications are equally significant. Leopard 2A8 integration requires new training pipelines, new maintenance regimes, and new operational concepts. It shifts Croatia's armored doctrine toward German and NATO standards, embedding not just equipment but mindset. And because Germany is leading the multinational Leopard procurement consortium, Croatia will be drawn deeper into joint training initiatives, rotational exercises, and potentially into shared operational deployments. Over time, this could reshape Croatia's role within NATO's force structure, elevating it from a regional actor to a contributor in broader strategic missions. Critics may point to the cost, to the long delivery timeline, or to the logistical burden of sustaining such advanced platforms. But these critiques miss the larger strategic calculus. By 2030, when the final Leopards arrive, the European security environment is likely to be even more contested than it is today. Energy politics, gray zone coercion, and conventional force buildups are already reshaping Europe's threat perceptions. In that environment, deterrence is not simply measured by alliances or declarations, but by credible, modern, deployable combat power. Croatia's move is an investment in that credibility. Meanwhile, Germany's own rearmament trajectory amplifies the significance of the deal. The first newly built Leopard since the Cold War is not just a tank, it is a statement of intent from Berlin. It signals that Germany is prepared to resume the role of Europe's industrial and military backbone, a shift many allies have long demanded. As German production ramps up, countries like Croatia benefit from economies of scale, increased spare parts availability, and the political weight of partnering with Europe's central power. So, where does this leave Croatia as the decade unfolds? Positioned at the intersection of national ambition, NATO interoperability, and European industrial resurgence? The Leopard 2A8 is not simply enhancing Croatia's firepower, it is redefining the country's strategic posture. It represents a commitment to readiness, to partnership, and to the belief that small states can shape their security destiny not by standing alone, but by integrating deeply into the strongest military coalition in modern history. When the first Leopard 2A8s roll into Croatian service between 2028 and 2030, they will not only replace the M84S of a bygone era, they will embody Croatia's new strategic identity, one built on modern armor, allied cooperation, and a clear-eyed recognition of the security challenges Europe faces. This deal is not the end of Croatia's modernization journey, it is the beginning of a new chapter in its defense narrative, one written in German steel, NATO doctrine, and European resolve.